It's always something. Okay, we're live now. All right, Lidia Primavera, you're in charge, my dear, of any comments.
You got it.
I know. Thank you. All right. Welcome back, everybody. We are streaming live here on YouTube. And then I'll share this with Facebook. Welcome back, Lidia Kuleshnyk. Did I say that? Kuleshnyk. I'm going to say it again. Yay, Lidia K. And welcome back, my dear co-host, Lidia Primavera. So here we are. It is the middle of October, and we are on, I think, Lidia K, as we're going to put it, part 5, the Divinity of Horse Series, part 5. And we're going to talk about L.O.V.E, L-O-V-E method, your love method of creating a sacred bond with your horse. I love this because this so coincides with the last podcast last month when I was talking about the 8 principles, do the Tao now, the Tao of horsemanship. And your method of creating your sacred bond is so similar to my method of creating a sacred space. It's really the same thing because we're both energy practitioners. So it's the heart coherence, the heartfelt space, and I can't wait for you to dive in. Before you do, and we start talking about the love method, you have an upcoming, or you have a book that's been released. So please share with that. And I think it would make I know it would make a beautiful gift for the holidays, Christmas gift. So please let everybody know the name of your book again and where they can purchase it.
Sure. It's Evolving on Purpose, Co-Creating with the Divine. And my chapter is The Divinity of Horses. And it's a beautiful compilation book of over 20 authors that help you connect with your intuition, help you have tools to guide you as you connect with your spirit and really live a life of deep soul connection, and passion and purpose. So it'll be available in soft cover, and it might be available in hard cover as well soon. We thought it would be in early October, but we're waiting for Amazon to get the soft cover and the hard cover ready. And thank you. Yes, it would be a wonderful Christmas gift.
Yes.
To share and for yourself. And the principles in the book can be applied to your own life in any way.
Mm-hmm.
With horses or anything to do with your personal life.
Absolutely.
There's something in that book for you.
And can we download this? Can't we do audio or audible? And what else? So they can download it. Just type it in, correct? Or go to your website.
Yeah, you can purchase it on Amazon in your country zone. So Amazon.com, I think, is for Americans, Amazon.ca for Canadians.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure what it is now, but when we launched it, I think it was $1.98 for the ebook. And you don't need Kindle.
Okay.
To access it. That's what I've been told. I have Kindle, so I got it through Kindle. But
okay.
I don't know if it'll be available on Audible or not. But
okay.
You should.
I don't think it was.
Yeah, you should be able to download it as an ebook.
Okay. Perfect.
Right now, even if you don't have Kindle.
Okay. Perfect.
And it's also available. The link will also be available on my website, aponahealing.com/books.
Perfect.
So at the bottom of that page.
Okay, good. All right, awesome.
Yeah, it's a lovely book and deeply inspiring with lots of tools. And of course, I share my chapter about my relationship with horses, how it began in the world of spirit and dreams, and then a special horse named Trigger that came in my life that got me on the path of healing with horses and rescuing horses, and really a call to action to help us listen to the messages of horses on earth right now. They're sending out an SOS for help. They've helped us heal, grow, and evolve through our own process on earth. And now it's time for us to help the horses.
Yes, beautiful. Oh my gosh, yes, beautiful. I love it. And I will definitely, when we're done with this, the YouTube and the editing that I'll be doing, I'll share this link, of course, straight to my Facebook, and I'll put your book back in there. But I can't recommend it enough, you guys. I tried to do the Audible, but it didn't allow me to do that. I'm going to do the ebook because I love listening when I'm the type of person where I can have the TV on or I can be listening while I'm actually writing, believe it or not. I'm crazy like that, multitasking. But with everyone that's enjoyed these podcast series, they've done so well. We've had hundreds and hundreds, over 300 to 500 downloads for every series, the whole series that we've been doing. Lydia's and me, Lydia's Divinity of Horses. So for all of you that enjoy this, like you've got to buy the book. How could you not have the book? So I'm excited to spread that for you because you're just amazing. It's just amazing work. All right, share with us, my dear. What is your love method?
Well, love method is something I've been teaching my students and using in my own coaching with both humans and horses in my equine healing retreats for the last 2 decades. And it's very simple. L stands for listen, O stands for observe, V stands for validate, and E stands for empower.
Ooh.
So these are, again, more steps. We have lots of steps and principles to help everybody.
Yes, so do I.
To help us really get grounded and focused, or as I like to say, centered in our core energy, connected to our essence and power, and conscious of what we're doing, of what are we doing when we're out with our horses? What are we doing when we're going through our daily life, and conscious of how we're creating our life and of who we are. So there are many foundational principles, and I've been watching some of your videos, Caroline, about holism and the foundational principles of holistic horsemanship. And it is so true, everything you're saying. Like you were saying how when you work with your method, your horses have a foundation that you can come back to anytime, even if there's been a long time in between training or doing things with horses. And this is my experience. I so resonated with that. And I thought of my love method because when we make that first connection with our horses, yes, it's heart to heart and energy to energy, but without asking them for anything at first.
Yes.
So we're just present with them and have gratitude for them. And then we're always listening, to the cues and observing, listening to what our intuition is telling us, and then observing the horse, observing ourselves, observing our response. Like, what are we getting triggered by? Why am I getting frustrated around my horse? And then to validate where we're both at, where you're at, where your horse is at, and that it's okay to be at that place, right? That acceptance. And then I often validate through gratitude, through thanking my horse for whatever state they're in, not reinforcing negative behavior that's not conducive to training in a certain way, but their inner state, their effort, their willingness, to validate the willingness. Because they want to create a sacred bond with you. And that's what they're here to do.
Yes.
Horses are here to love us and to elevate us and to bond with us. And it means as much to them, as it does to us. And then to empower them through what we're doing and with positive reinforcement and however you define that. I mean, there's different methods of that and approaches to that, but
there's quite a few.
I didn't realize it was actually a term, positive reinforcement, and it's
a new way, it's a new method of training. I'm not real crazy about it because it usually involves some level of coercion, like target training. You get a treat, so I don't believe in it. You don't need you are the treat. Let me ask you, in your experience, because this is something that I find I'm trying to put myself, and I am putting myself in a listener's mindset, just like I try to put myself in a student mindset. And I often have a difficult time because when you're creating, you've got so much stuff you're thinking about and you want to put together in a way that is understandable, that I'm not in that student mindset. So I have to break it down. So my question for you, and this has also been my experience with your love method, people get frustrated in my experience training people and rehabilitating horses and working with them together. They get frustrated because we understand that the ego gets in the way. We have our expectations. We expect too much. We think too much. It's hard for us to get present, to get grounded, get still. But just breaking down your love method, just the first word, love, it has to become unconditional. To be present and to allow your horse to be who they need to be, who they are in that moment, whatever moment it is. And we'll use an example of training gone wrong. You go out to do something X, Y, and Z with your horse, and it goes to shit, and you don't know why. And what I'm trying to help people, and so are you, it sounds like through the love method, is it doesn't have to go to shit. There is no shit. Just because it didn't happen the way you think it should happen, it's because you're attached to an outcome. You're attached, you have expectations. And when we are attached, and I have personal experience with this has been a huge journey for me. And it will always be a journey because it's part of my personality, part of my behavior that I've learned, part of my DNA. And I think for human beings as a species, it is how we are hardwired. We do expect, and it is the devil's door, as I call it. It can, once you open that door, it'll suck you in and make you so unhappy if you live a life full of expectations. Everybody's got to, including your horse, live to these expectations. So getting back to love, be unconditional is what I want to say to everyone. Don't go into your experience with any 2 or 4-legged loved one with expectations, but that does not, and this is one of my principles, expect, but don't have expectations. So I expect you to be a good person. I expect all of us to be good people. I do have standards. I do have things that I hold of value, but I don't have expectations, meaning I don't know how you're going to show up. I don't know how my horse is going to show up right now. Especially when you're developing a relationship and a connection and trust and confidence, and you're learning how to work together. You're dating, you're still getting to know each other. So it's really hard if you come in with the mindset of having, it's got to get done. I expect this, have these expectations where we've got to achieve this today, or I've got to get this done today. So I'm trying not to ramble. I'm really tired, y'all, and I'm sorry. So my brain's just been on, shotgun overload. So, just the key word here is unconditional love. I think, if you're going to love, try to love unconditionally. Try to just allow and be in that moment. And again, the hardest thing is love and leadership. It's like, how do you take unconditional love and hold that space for your child as you're raising your child, for, whether you're raising a horse or a puppy or a relationship that's challenging? How do you have that unconditional love, yet you also have boundaries? There's, you can push and you can test me, but you can only push so far. And then I'm gonna get real straight. And then it stops right there. So that's another defining thing that's hard for people is also, yeah, I want to love you and I want to allow and I want to be in that moment, but where are the boundaries? When is enough? When do I say no? And that comes to listening to ourselves. When does it feel bad? When does it start to begin to feel wrong or uncomfortable? And acknowledging, listening, so that you begin to hear and feel the beginning of it, not when you're all the way at the end and you feel like you've been taken advantage of or run over or run through. We're trying to balance things in life always, and not just, wait until we get to the end of our rope or the end of our patience or the end of our energy, and then we need help. It's like, when do we recognize? And that's what listening does for us and allows us, when we listen to ourselves, and we also listen to the horses, listen to when they say, hey, this is a threshold. I need to stop right now. I need to think about this, or I need to get back in my parasympathetic nervous system of self-regulation before you push me again. And it's no different for people. When do we recognize where our limits are? And that's a really tough one for a lot of people. Don't you think?
Lidia, would you like to comment on that? That was awesome.
Oh.
It all was beautifully said, a beautiful flow, and I 100% agree.
Oh, wait, you're muted, babe. Unmute yourself. There you go.
I agree to a certain point, but when it comes to domestication, I'm not sure that there's unconditional love, because even the dogs that I lost a month or so ago expected a lot of me every day.
Or they're caregivers. Is that what you mean? Just because they're getting older? Oh, yeah.
No,
It's
no, because
demanding.
I have them in captivity. They are mine.
Mm-hmm.
They expect me to walk them every day, to feed them every day, to do the things that I do for them every day. And when I didn't do them, they let me know it. So I believe everything you said, but I also believe that it's really hard to define unconditional love because we put conditions on it all the time.
We do. I think for me, unconditional love is, you do it without thinking about it. You just do it because, when it doesn't mean it doesn't become taxing. It doesn't mean it doesn't become exhausting in my experience. It just is. I wouldn't think of it being any other way. Like I wouldn't think of not taking care of my mother. I wouldn't think of not meeting my stepson's needs because he's a teenage boy and he has his own needs that are not my needs. And separating those needs are so important. And when we as parents, as an example, don't learn how to separate our needs from our child's needs, look at all of our narcissistic parents, and our narcissistic behaviors. We've got to separate.
And isn't a boundary a condition?
No, a boundary to me is not a condition. A healthy boundary is just that. It's a space where you recognize that I can't, I'm going to use this as an example. I can't take anymore. I'm exhausted. And you just say, I got to guys, I'm just throwing out an example, personal. I'm exhausted and I am right now. So I'm just putting a boundary up. I don't have much energy. I love you guys. I'm going to be a veg tonight. Not going to work till 11 o'clock or 1 a.m. And I'm just going to go watch a movie. Do you mind taking care of dinner? So I don't know if I answered that question. There's no conditions there. It's just, hey, this is who I am. If you respect me and love me, and hopefully you do, or there's going to be a problem here, there's going to be a big problem. Hopefully you love and respect me and, you can take over for a night. I don't know. I think those are all getting blurred right there. I don't see condition and unconditional love with feeling or putting conditions out there. And animals are needy. You're right. Look at all these aging horses. I went through hell the last few years, heart hell with my Trinity, the roller coaster, and then Legend dying unexpectedly. It's brutal when you love these expensive. They're all expensive. My 14-year-old labs were hundreds of dollars a month in medications, and I'm a low maintenance kind of person. I'm like, I don't want to medicate you to the point where you don't, I just want you to live. What's the word? You guys, the word. I just want you to not live in pain, but I'm not going to mask anything. I'm not here to like keep you alive while you're urinating all over that was always I'm not that owner, you guys. And I've told everybody that asks, I'm like, I'm the owner that says the minute my dogs or cats lose their faculties, they're buried. There's no doubt. There's no quality of life when they're pissing and shitting all over the place and they feel horrible. And you are running around crazy trying to clean up. It's a disaster. And the horses, you can't get up, you're staying down. You're staying down. Or if you're walking around three-legged now, hell yeah, there's no quality of life there. There's no quality of life. So I think that's where we try to measure like what feels right with where's that tuning fork within us that instrument within us that you can call it intuition, absolutely, gut, your third brain, you know, where is it that's saying, hey, wait a minute, this doesn't feel right anymore. I might not understand why it doesn't feel right for me, and it doesn't look right, but you know, we've got to take or make that time to understand where we are inside of ourselves when we listen, with where's our comfort. But no, unconditional love for me is, I've taught Mason this, my stepson, because it's you know, it's not being taught by his parents. So I've stepped in and I said, when he was a lot younger and when I thought he mentally, cognitively was at the age to start to grasp what I would slowly put out there for him to think about, was, yes, you do have to make your bed every morning. Yes, you do have to clean the bathroom you use. Yes, you do have to clean up after yourself. Those are my rules, and they will make you a better person. Well, I don't like it. I don't want to. I don't see it. I said, you will see purpose. I said, if it works out right for you, and you take to it, then you'll understand as you develop that it builds character. You'll understand as you develop and grow into a young man that we have to do things in life. We just do them. You know, we don't like to do a lot of things, or you're going to live in a house that's filthy, a house that has dirty laundry all the time, you know, and you're going to be relying on other people. So you start those little seeds early, you know, and this is just child raising, but it's also horsemanship. It's in any relationship. It's kind of stepping back and looking at the things that didn't work so well for you growing up or in your family dynamic. And to me, that's part of being unconditional, though. It's like, hey, I don't like doing a lot of things, but if I do them well enough and get them out of the way, that's 1 hour out of my day. And I feel better about it. And to me, that's maybe a weird way of saying it's unconditional, you know, putting that effort into cleaning the house and keeping it straight and mucking and doing things around the property and watering the plants, things I do enjoy, but things that take that extra time away from me doing other things that I would really enjoy. And to me, it's like unconditional love. I don't know. I don't think about it. I love you. I got to take care of you. And if you're a real pain in the ass, then you go in assisted living. That's my mom. No, I love my mother.
Lidia, what's your answer?
Well, it's a very powerful conversation, because what we're talking about is the state of humanity at this time, how we're growing spiritually in a material world. And how do we do that? You know, this is a very powerful time in human history, and we live it in every way. We live it in our daily lives and the choices that we make and our relationship with ourselves. And you know, as Lidia, you're saying, it sounds like you have very high standards for yourself of what unconditional love is, which is fantastic. So we all want to have high standards for ourselves, but then our spiritual consciousness sometimes may be greater than our ability to fully live that on the material plane because of where we are at on the material plane, you know. And then we have to not be so hard on ourselves in terms of unconditional love, because we can think of unconditional love as something really expansive. But then how do we practice it, you know, is what we're saying. How do we actually practice it? And for those of us who are, let's say, high achievers or high performers in terms of, I define those terms as in terms of our high standards for ourselves, right? It doesn't mean external accolades necessarily or whatever. I mean, it's how we feel about ourselves and what we do in our daily lives. Then we can't be too hard on ourselves when as humans, we've been given the role to be and responsibility to be humane, conscious stewards of other life,
of our planet.
Everything. So we're the ones that took away the natural habitat, you know, as Lidia was saying, and domesticated many animals. So of course we're responsible. It is a huge awareness. Like when you get into that state of awareness, I always get chills because I just am speechless, because how can we expect so much of our horses when we've taken everything away from them?
Yeah. Yes, we have. We've imprisoned them. That's a deep subject. I'd love to have a podcast on that. It's horrifying. I think it'll horrify a lot of people when you really think about, when you consciously come back to a place where you first want to throw up with the thought that you've imprisoned your horses. You don't give them the life that they want or deserve or need. I don't care how much you love your horses. I don't care how much hate I get from this. When you think about it, your horses are imprisoned. Absolutely. They don't get to choose their friends. They don't get to choose their forage, what's best for them. They don't get to choose their freedom. I mean, my God, they're stuck with us.
Well, yeah, and that speaks to the bigger spiritual aspect of why do they incarnate. And so the horses that incarnate in our world, I don't know, I don't have that answer, but from my reflection and messages, it's to support us.
Yes.
So there's all these multiple things going on. The reality of us having taken away their sovereignty, but then also part of our union with horses is to activate our unconditional love through their presence.
Humanity. That, and I've chills. Lidia, I've been saying this for years, way before my podcast, but way before I ever got online with all of these teachings. I've said, horses are like aliens. They're from another planet. And I've said this in previous podcasts. They're from another planet to come back to show us humanity. And unconditional love is where we wouldn't have these problems in the world with what's going on in the world if we had unconditional love. Boundaries, but unconditional love too. And you're too hard on yourself, Lidia P. Primavera. That's why you said what you said. Thank you, Lidia. God, how you can go through and decipher the mess that I say sometimes is amazing. But you're too hard on yourself. You take amazing care of everyone that you love, including your husband, to a fault, probably. To a fault, meaning you don't take care of yourself during that process. So that's why you feel so freaking exhausted. And it's a burden. When it starts to become a burden, when my mother was becoming a burden, I had to look at it and say, whoa, I want to love her unconditionally. But the burden thing was reality smacking me hard in the face, saying you can't take care of her here at home anymore. You can't. It's going to kill you. It's going to kill your family. It's going to kill your business. So that it's like that. I guess it's that instrument, that tuning fork of when does it start to push so far that you don't feel the unconditional love anymore. Then something's pushed too far. Does that make sense? That we're not taking care of ourselves.
Well, it's tuning into your energetic capacity. And it's about cultivating that inner knowing of self. So everything we're talking about is how each of us who are interested in self-responsibility and in being humane, conscious stewards of the planet and of life are on a path of self-mastery. And it is not easy. You don't have to make it a burden, like as you're saying, when something becomes a burden, we've reached our capacity. So we start to tune into ourselves. And like the expression that you said earlier, Caroline, I've had enough, or whatever was the expression that you said. I don't know. Or if we all have what I call our capacity expression.
Yeah, I don't know. Enough is enough. I've had enough.
Enough is enough. We all have an expression that we repeatedly say that comes out subconsciously, that is our flashing red light indicator to us, just like on the dashboard of your car. If you're driving your car,
overheating.
You get the warning signs, the flashing red light saying engine, gas, low, oil is needed. And so we have these flashing red light indicators that are constantly communicating with us. So getting back to listening, right? So, And so when we listen and observe to our own flashing red light indicators, then we can understand the balance of unconditional love and boundaries. Because as humane conscious stewards, we're here to lead. And we have to be keep evolving into our highest state of being. And we can't do that when we're drained.
Yes. Yes. And that's for everyone. That's everybody. You know, everybody to me is gifted, talented, has a purpose, at least one purpose in life, whatever, and find that purpose or find what gives you meaning. And if it's taking care of others, if it's taking care of your beloved dogs, because you are their steward and until their last breath, you know, that's part of, for the time being, your purpose. But then it's also, how do you not get lost in that or feel drowned in that? And it's hard when they're, you know, both my labs were really healthy for 14, even though, yes, they were on special, you know, expensive dog food for their diets. And I didn't put Sydney on any kind of expensive heart medicine. It was a lesser, like, I didn't want to, I don't know how to put it. Like, I wanted her quality of life to be as good as possible, but I didn't want to, if it was her time to go, it was her time to go. But the point I'm making is they were outside with me. They were with me 24/7. My God, that's why I can't get another dog for 14 years. So when they went, it was cold turkey. There wasn't any faculty issues. We had that talk. I said, you start losing it. And you know, my late cat, who was like my third dog that grew up with them, yes, he started to lose. Oh, poor Willow. And I said, Dee Dee, that's it. Next day I called the vet. And I said, anyway, if I had to take care of my dogs who were pissing and shitting all over the house and all over themselves, I couldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. And I don't get it when people do that. And I'm not judging anyone, but the amount of exhaustion it causes my students and friends and family that have done that. I'm like, why do you keep your dog alive for 2 years when you have to physically carry it outside to go to the bathroom? Sorry, guys, I'm probably pissing off a lot of people, but I'm like, but it's exhausting for them to do that. And what kind of quality of life?
Well, I think it comes down to, again, tuning into ourselves and our unique soul contract and soul union with those in our lives. And part of our soul family are our animals, for those of us who honor animals in that way.
Yes.
And as we know from our life experience with the different animals in our lives, it's unique. Each animal in my life I have my unique journey with that soul path, that animal. And so sometimes we do things that may seem, what's the word? Ridiculous.
Macabre.
Ridiculous.
Ridiculous, yes.
Nonsensical.
No, yeah, no, I understand that. I understand, but I see also a lot of people, and I'm like you, Lydia, you know, when you're coaching and you're teaching, you meet hundreds, if not thousands of people. And so I'm talking across the board with people that aren't talking to me about their soul journey with the animal. I would get that, you know, they're just, to me, it's more of I've seen the link with something deeper going on that is unfinished within them. And it's a behavior towards the animal that for me is not having a quality of life. And the person isn't having a quality of life because they have to take such high care of this animal, you know, and I see it as a manifestation in the human as a unconscious behavior that they're not aware of. Like, you know, if they pursued coaching with me on a deeper level, then we could talk about, why do you feel the need to sustain this life? And when your life is on hold right now, and it's, you know, and you're frustrated and you're angry, and, you know, where is this going? I mean, this gets really deep.
We're deep.
Really deep.
Everyone watching with us is deep too. So we're glad you're with us, because we need deep humans. We need to be deep.
But there's also, then there's the other extreme too, people that just, as soon as the animal starts to show signs of suffering and age, they put them to sleep. When they
I'm
might,
going to say it's about intuition, because we're talking about intuition. And when you brought something up about why, I instantly saw my new friends with their new phones that tell them when they need to eat and when they need to go to the gym and what their heart rate is.
yes,
And all of that is around their wrist, and all of that is here, here, and here, right? Like,
yeah.
I know when my heart rate is accelerated because I pay attention. And then I use the Tao reverse breath to bring my heart rate down.
Yeah.
So, okay, I'm calm enough to make a decision now. So, like, we are so removed from using those three
Listening.
brains in unison together,
Yep.
let alone do we even know we have them, right? Like, we have been so intuitive that we know what plants that can heal us, and we choose to ignore that knowledge pretty much and buy a prescription.
Well,
Well,
but this,
that's the material world.
yeah, but
Yes,
this is
that's
what's
how.
yeah, sorry to interrupt, but this is what's happening on the planet that's been prophesized now for a long
Yes.
time.
Yes.
That
Yes.
there'll, like 19,000 years ago, I think I mentioned on a previous podcast, the ancient Hopi scribed into stone 2 paths of humans.
Oh, I have chills.
And yeah, and one path was a stick person that was whole and somehow vibrant or whatever. I didn't see the actual stick drawings, but Greg Braden, talked about this a lot. And then the other path were humans who were drawn without a head. They had lost their connection. They had lost their consciousness. They weren't thinking clearly anymore, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And in my own healing journey over the last 30 years of consciously developing myself, I keep coming across this information about how there is happening now. We're in the early stages of the choice, like Lidia was saying, the choice of how you want to evolve or progress or decline or whatever. And we live in a free will universe. So we have free will. So I always say, from an animal perspective, that the animals are testing us. They're the ones that are seeing what we're capable of. They're giving us the opportunity to integrate mind, body, spirit, and observe us, right? And give a whole sacred space for us, as much as we have to do that for them because they're in our environment.
That unconditional love again. It's to me that just keeps popping up, because we know they all have unconditional love. They're not attached to this brain though. That's the blessing for them, is they don't have the ego, and they don't have that higher level of cognition that is wonderful and not wonderful.
Well, they don't let it get in their way. So they don't let their higher consciousness get in their way. As we talked about before, they're aware of the duality of their existence, that they're very present in their high spiritual state of being, but they're also able to suffer and experience pain and emotional loss, right? And trauma. But they've never forgotten who they are and why they're here, that's where humans have. But it is a time of, we've always had free will, but as Lidia was saying, humans are making choices at this time, and it's going to progress to 2100. So this is going to go on for decades. And now is the time that we're being given this great opportunity on the planet through Zoom calls like this, right? Through connecting globally, through resources like Caroline's beautiful teachings, like the 5 steps to whatever, right? To help. There's so many resources out there for us. And it's because we're being given the opportunity to access it and make the choice to really experience what it's like to be whole and free and secure and in our power and sharing and loving and present. And we were meant to be living as high spiritual beings on the material plane. And so when we get back to horses and listening, observing, and validating and empowering, I mean, that is a sacred communication with your horse that builds that trust on an energetic, unconditional love basis. Then, you know, the 8 principles are as part of that, Caroline's 8 principles, and then Caroline's magnificent training, you know, of holistic horsemanship comes in, right?
You're kind. Yeah.
Well, you are the queen of the equines. I just love everything that you do, and I love watching all your teachings. And I love what you're talking about, where the foundation that you create is lasting.
Yes, forever.
It is.
Absolutely. Absolutely, you guys, it's mind blowing. You
It
just got to put the
is.
time into it. You know, it's like, it's no different than, you know, it's a lot easier than raising children, right? We can raise kids, we hope, until they're 18, and then they're, you know, they're still too young, but you know what I mean? They're 18, but gosh, with a horse, you get them through, if you're raising a baby and you're developing them from a baby, yeah, get them through up to at least the age of 7, only because it takes that long for their spine to fully fuse, which is the best. I'm not saying you can't put rides on them before then, but nothing intense by any means. But yeah, then, oh, I mean, just put the time in and the consistency and the love. And wow, it's just, they never forget. They never forget.
And you'll
Ever.
find that as you do that, you grow, right? Like
Yes, the
grow
process.
by being
Absolutely.
patient with them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then we
Absolutely.
start to feel it. We start to feel that connection within ourselves and with them.
Yes.
And we're more secure in going forward with doing activities or training. I don't know the terminology you do, but with our,
You know, everybody wants to feel more confident, or they want their horse to feel more confident. And like, you know, I don't belong, let me reword that. I don't belong to many groups at all, but I get a ton of different professionals through my newsfeed, you know, Facebook. And so I'm checking out, and everybody, Lidia knows this, you know, I'm checking out this, checking out that. And it amazes me how many professional equine trainers out there, you know, their students are all, a lot of them asking the same questions. And I'm talking about tens and thousands of people, because I'll see a post and I'll be like, you know, wow, this has a ton of comments, right? So let me see what they're so interested in. And they all want what they want is foundation, but they don't know it. So they're just like, I want my horse to be more confident. I want my horse to be less anxious. I'd like my horse to be able to try new things, go new places. I'd like to be able to just feel that sense of freedom where you and your horse are so connected that you can do anything and everything together. And I'm not saying there's nothing perfect in life, you guys. No relationship is ever perfect. The perfection for me, the magic for me, is when we trust each other enough that we can talk about it. And that's 2- and 4-legged. You can have a fight with your best friend, your partner, your horse. Okay, fighting doesn't mean abuse, guys. All right, but you can have a fight, you can have disagreement, but if you can connect and talk about it and resolve it, don't you feel better? That's life, though. That's like duality. That's the yin and the yang. You know, you've got light and dark, you've got easy and hard, you've got positive and negative, you've got happy and sad. I mean, this is life. How do you balance it, and how do you get to a place where you don't take it personal, you don't make it personal? This has been my own journey. I speak from experience, my own pain and tears in this journey. And so that, you know, like real quick, I had to have a little come to Jesus. And this is, I should have put this in, or I should have videotaped it when I was doing one of my posts for this new series. And it was permission to get on. And I haven't asked for permission to get on like this in a year. I don't know. It's not like I haven't been riding my horses here and there, but not like this, not like, hey. So I put we're in this little paddock outside my barn that I was filming. And I'm like, oh, hell no. You're not standing 10 feet from this fence and looking at me like, I don't know. I'm not coming over there. I'm like, get your ass over here. Get your ass over here and give me some lovin's first. Feel that. Get some of that good lovin'. And then I'd like you to be respectful, meaning I'd like you to be right here, right now. Respect doesn't mean a negative thing. It doesn't, you got to earn it, you know? So I'm like, hey, number one, you're going to get the love. And number two, you're going to get the leadership. And the leadership says, I need you now, present, right here. 1, 2, 3. You gotta participate. You got to show up right now because I need you. And they all were like a toothpick, seriously. Foot is cocked, all three of them. And they're just looking at me like, huh, whatever. So bam, let's go. Yeah, okay, mom, now I'm in it. I'm like, come on. But it's done with a smile. It's done with a ton of love, you know, and it's also done with, yeah, I need your help right now. So get your ass over here and come pick my ass up. And there we go. So I should have filmed that like minute or 2 minutes of like dust flying, horses flying. But I'm like, yeah, you know, if any professional tries to, like, smoke and mirrors, tries to tell you people that like, and I don't want to see a dead broke horse. I don't want to see a horse that's dead in their eyes ever. And being soft is not dead. I want to see a horse that has a light and that can express themselves and they feel valued, they feel respected, and they trust me enough to know that I'm going to listen, even if I don't like what I heard. Like standing over there, I swear to God, it was like they're picking their teeth with their foot cocked, going, I ain't coming over there. I don't want to work. It's just like, come on, let's go. So yeah, anyway, just the whole mindset around life, where did it get so messed up? You know, I wish I had been a psychiatrist or psychologist, maybe a psychiatrist. I don't know. One can do prescriptions. They're both the same. One's prescriptions and one
You know
is
the answer to that question.
well, hold on. Let me finish this train of thought for 1 second. Just one more second. It's like, where did we lose, or why we maybe it was never there. Why don't we communicate as a human species? It's like the number one negative for all of us is we don't know how to talk. We don't know how to listen to ourselves. We're afraid of that. We're afraid to speak our mind. We're afraid to listen to somebody else. We're afraid of what they're going to say. We're afraid to talk about stuff. What happened? Why don't we want to talk about anything? Is that what you're going to talk about, Lidia?
I was going to say the Industrial Revolution.
Yes.
And we set the horse on the curb and took up the car.
Yeah. And we lost our connection with the horse, didn't we? Big time. Yeah, we did.
That's my
they were
case.
valued. They were valued, even though they were being used for transportation, agriculture. They were valued a lot.
Yes.
I think better than they are today, and respected. They were your livelihood, for Christ's sakes. And a lot of people took good care of them.
Couldn't go anywhere without them.
Yeah, and at the same time, while that was happening, we made the intellect the supreme God, which we've talked about before, and said, if you show emotion through communication, well, you're a weak woman.
Yes,
like
that's right.
Women cry, men don't, you know, or if you're a woman and you cry, well, you're weak, you know. And so they turn the feminine.
I must be really weak.
Well, they qualities of connection of the human state, some of them, into negatives
to manipulate.
Yeah, that were degraded. Degraded. That's like the other time we were talking about the word woo-woo. Well, woo-woo to me is universal energy. Like if you denigrate woo-woo, well, you're disconnected from
from what's real. It's right here. Yeah.
Derogatory term.
Yes. Yes.
It's a derogatory term to be used to make someone else feel secure, and for the person to feel secure by denigrating someone,
Yes.
right? And
Gaslighting.
we're evolving out of that.
I hope so.
But that's what happened, was that with the last couple 100 years or whatever, part of it started, we won't get into history, but it's called the Burning Times with the Inquisition in Europe, and where the feminine, anything to do with feminine, was deemed to be evil, like bad, like we must get the evil spirits, out of
Control. It's always about control. It always comes back to control.
Power.
And the Inquisition ended when there was a collective consciousness that it was no longer acceptable to treat rural people and women that way. And the Holocaust of animals will also end. And it may take some time. We want it to end right away. But we're here to help make that change happen. And everyone listening and participating today, you are so needed to help make that happen.
Yes,
Through
collectively.
yourself, through honoring the animals in the best way you can in your life, like through listening, observing, validating, and empowering yourself and others and the animals. And the foundation of that coaching method of mine is before we give advice, right? Before we ask the horse to do something or teach a horse a training method, or with my students and clients, before I give a client counsel, or advice, let's say on healing foods, for example, right? Like somebody has a tumor and they want to know what to eat to resolve their tumor, but I'll first listen, observe, validate where they're at and who they are, and empower them for how well they're doing.
Yes. That's beautiful.
Because
It's
we
like
want
my
to
assessment.
we want to go forward from a place of inner strength for the person or the animal we're helping.
Yes.
And some of the horses that have severe trauma or have a difficult time adapting, I mentioned before my story of my wild Mustang, Spring Rose. She had trauma, but she also had a really hard time fitting into the human world. And I came to that awareness as we journeyed. The L.O.V.E method was critical for her to find ease in this. To her, it was an alien world. She was rounded up by a helicopter and separated from her family, and went through her own hell of losses. And imagine being alone. Imagine an alien spaceship taking you away, and you see all your family members killed or destroyed, and you go to a planet and you just don't know what they're saying. You just don't understand. You've never seen their vehicles or and you're alone. Like, you have no one to talk to. You have no way to have a buddy to keep you going. But I guess it's their spiritual connection, that helps them. But their connection to source energy. But when I was Spring Rose, when I just listened and I really observed her, and myself, like, why am I getting frustrated? Why do I have to? Well, for me, on a functional level, we talked about it before, I want to be able to help her in the human world. What if she gets injured? What if she has a cut or a wound, right?
Yep.
I want to be able to help her in the human world. So there's my expectation, but it's practical.
Yeah.
It's not from the ego, right? It's not.
Yes.
But then how far will I push her to achieve that level of safety that I want for her in our world, before I destroy her comfort level in the new world, right? It's very, it's a very high level of self-mastery that all of us are developing through relationship with horses. And I always empowered her. I always validated how hard she was trying. She's always been trying, But like I'm not very good at learning new languages. I wish I was, and maybe I'm not interested. I'd love to speak 5 languages, but it's just not my thing. It's just not, and I've accepted that. And communicating with humans just wasn't Spring Rose's thing, right? So she's been studying, like she studies every time we put a halter on. She studies every time we clean the hooves, and she studies when I do photon lights on Rocky's eyes, and she comes over and helps heal and breathes through the release of the pain from the eyes and participates. And so I'm always validating and empowering her.
And accepting. You're very accepting of how she shows up and what she's showing you she can give. That's
100%.
beautiful. That's unconditional. Right there's
unconditional love. And with my awareness of my own stuff, right? So what we're asking of ourselves is, as Lidia was saying, high standard, and rightly so, but not to be hard on ourselves, because we're all kind of figuring that on our own. Like we don't have, that's why we're here together, as a community today, because when we go out into our world, there aren't a lot of people to support us in that. And even well-meaning people. And they have their own determined approach, right, to whatever it is, right?
Yes.
And so that's when we have no attachment, and we stay in our feeling. And that's when we learn, like Carol and I love Taoism and Taoist non-attachment, and because it's so effective in honoring all.
Yes, it is.
And in creating phenomenal results in everything that we do. So it is a journey, and we're all here together in these discussions to sort it out and to support each other. And we don't always have the exact answers, but we're evolving, like we're growing, and we're learning from the right place, from the place of unconditional love. And remembering that the honoring of life continues after death. Like there is no death, because we're eternal spiritual beings, and so are our animals. And I've had hundreds, thousands of dreams of people and animals communicating with me after they've passed on. And it's as real as us talking now, and I continue to have them. I've had dreams about pets, that have passed on, and what they experience as they're leaving their body. And so with that experience, with that insight of the multidimensional state of all of us, then we have that greater connection and awareness to what to do, because we are their stewards. Like Lidia was saying, like I am 100% responsible for my dog and cat and horse, right? And whatever pet or animal we have who's in our world that can't be sovereign. And we take it, all of us here take that very seriously. And we're trying, and it is a journey as we evolve, into 2100. So we're here to support each other, and learn from each other. I mean, I learn from all of you here. And it's just great to have these conversations that are so critically important in our own growth and in creating a better world for our animals and the planet.
Absolutely. And with the love method, for anyone out there that it's, a lot of people do, how do I listen to my horse? How do I give them the love? You were saying it, listen is the L word, O is for observation, V is for validation, and E is for empowerment. If we, in my personal journey, and this is what I share in my work, and I think we can all agree, it's been, everyone I've asked has agreed, I think we can all agree that when we learn how to give that love, listen, observe, validate, and empower to another, we give it back to ourselves in turn. As it's so hard, how do you love yourself unconditionally? I've been beating myself up my entire life until recently. And then the aha moment was, wow, my mom is still here, and mom and I've talked about this, by the way. Mom is, because my mother's like that. She's a deep person and spiritual, and she'll go there. And like, she's like, I'm still here for a reason. I haven't passed yet. And she'll say that in a joking way, and she'll say that in a spiritual way. And then I'll have these moments where I'm like, wow, what, I want to make the most of our time. I've got some triggers with my mom. She's got some triggers, period. How can I make the most of my mother, not be triggered? And I've prayed, lots of prayer and lots of allowing that little bit of unconditional, just allowing myself to feel the trigger, to feel, and I don't mean I'm ashamed, angry at myself a little bit for feeling that way towards my mother. How do I get beyond that? And the power of prayer has been phenomenal. Not to mention, you need more than prayer sometimes too. You've got to find that roadmap, like taking your own advice. It's like, okay, so how do I love my mother unconditionally and get beyond those triggers to love her unconditionally? And how do I forgive myself? Because I've learned those behaviors. I've learned how to punish myself from my mother punishing herself. And my brothers and I've talked about this too. We're also, I'm fortunate that I'm very close to my brothers, and we are a family unit taking care of our, mom's here and they're there, but we are always talking to what's, the best thing for mom. But it's they've experienced it too in the same household, even though, you grow up differently, right? If you're born years apart, you experience your mom and dad a little different as a sibling. But we understand, yeah, mom, and being the daughter, the only daughter, it's rough. It's like, wow, how did I get this way? And then when you have that aha where you recognize that you learned this behavior, and it's like, I personally, it feels like I lost 200 pounds, or this huge weight's been lifted off of me. And I'm like, oh my God, wow, all these years, beating myself up and being hard on myself, where did that come from? But my getting back to the love method that you're talking about, and I'm trying to give, a roadmap of some sorts for people who want to practice or want to learn how to become more unconditional and allow, they don't have to become a Taoist or a practicing Taoist, as I call myself, because I haven't given up wine, and I haven't given up, meat. But it's like being a practicing Taoist, that whole woo-wee, the whole allowance, the non-action, the path of least resistance. It is a practice. And I think being a human being, it's one of the hardest sometimes, because it goes against our nature, our ego, our egotistic nature, to allow, and not have that attachment or that control. But anyway, not to take you guys down the rabbit hole again, but we all have our paths and our journeys, and that's part of mine. And it's I can really, the love method, that is beautiful. That is brilliant that you came up with that. It's so spot on for all of us and our horses. And if you can't give it to yourself at first, give it to another. And that's how you can learn. That's your own personal journey of how you learn how to give it back to yourself. I don't know. Didn't mean to ramble.
Oh, but that's exactly what it is, that when we listen, observe, validate, and empower, we feel good about that.
Yeah.
Because we feel the energy, we feel the other being, whether human or animal, in a more calm, centered state.
Yes.
And then you're making progress.
Yes.
Then you're making progress. And then it starts as a foundation. And like you're saying, building these foundations that last forever with your horses,
yes.
From which then everything else becomes easier. And like
yes.
you take the time, have the patience to do the practice, to
yes.
do what Caroline says, everybody. You do what Caroline says to create that.
Do the Tao now. It's been an amazing journey. Yeah. it has.
And Lidia, anything you'd like to share about everything?
You're on mute. There you go.
I don't really have anything to add right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you still recovering from, and I know you are, that's not the right question. Are you doing better from your grief? You've had a lot of grief this year.
Yeah, I'm practiced at it.
Oh, Lord.
Well, I lost my
Have you
mom.
ever?
I lost my mother in my 40s, and or 50, yeah, and my dad in my 50s, and everybody's gone. So I don't have much more to grieve when it comes to people. Too, but there's been a lot of loss in friends. But about the only thing I'm relating to mostly, and that is Cowboy, and I'm in conversations with that old horse about picking up his feet this Friday. And if he doesn't want to pick up his feet, he goes in the ground, right? Like, this is what I've told him. You've had 2.5+ years here. Your life is better, but you need to tell me when enough is enough. But it was interesting because I was giving him some apple treats, and I said, the farrier's coming Friday, and he backed away from the and I said, but here's the deal. You're going to get Butte the night before, Butte that morning. So maybe it'll make it different. And if it does, and you're happy to stay, you can stay. And if you want to fight it, the other option is to go over the Great Divide, right?
Yeah.
To be with everybody else. So he's listening. He's got a sparkle in his eye about it. And we'll see what happens Friday.
Let me ask you this. That's been an interesting conversation I've had with, probably you would be the 5th person in the last couple of months, 5th student, that their horse is having a hard time picking up arthritis. And I think Amy, who was on our podcast and was in our coaching last month, our group coaching. So, and I think it is, if Amy's still with us in the comments, but a lot of times it's the farrier, if I don't know if your farrier, will he get on his knees?
It's not the farrier, no.
Well, for a lot of people, the
it's
farrier won't. Like, I was told the same thing with Sundance years ago with it, and
no,
like,
he's already low. He's already low. He's as low as you can go.
Well, let me just, but is he on the ground? Like, it wasn't till I found my farrier, Brad, kneeling down and not lifting, just allowing them, to have their hoof touching the ground and working with what the horse is capable of doing, that it changed,
He's not happy doing that because the weight it puts on the front knees.
Yeah, wow. That was
he does not want to stand on 3 legs anymore.
Wow.
Like, it was good for a while, but now both front knees are so bad, he doesn't want to stand on either one of them independently.
That was Smokey. Yep. He's that bad. Wow.
So it'll be Butte, and if that doesn't work, it's time.
Yep.
And I'm that matter of fact,
ambassador. You've given him a beautiful last few years.
We're worried about the other horses losing the dogs, and then Cowboy all of a sudden, like what that's going to do to my household or my herd. I'm more worried about Cochise and Prophet losing Cowboy than me losing him.
Yeah.
That's kind of,
I do know. I do. But they have each other and they have you. It's harder, like when Sundance and Legend were married, they were soulmates, husband and wife. So it doesn't surprise me that she was ready to go a year after Legend, combined with some other challenges, health issues. But that to me is a different case because they were such a union. Everyone else mourned, but they all knew ahead of time, like you're telling your horses, that he's not well and that mom's got to make this decision. And, there's that conversation, and they'll be there and they'll show up when that time comes for cowboy. And then they'll, to me, if you do it like that and you're talking and you're sharing, they're more attached to you than they are cowboy.
Yep.
And so my herd here is more attached to me than they were Sundance. It was Smoke, Sundance, the Trinity and Lay. And while they were attached to each other more than they were to the other horses. And so
Yeah,
you got this.
it's all a process. Yeah,
You're the lead mare.
yeah, I'm definitely, and it's all about timing. It's not about me.
Hmm.
That's the beauty of it, when you can know it's not about you.
Aw.
Yippee.
Well, not to end on such a somber note,
But it happens, we're all
does.
making that
It's
decision
reality.
eventually. And we started out talking about it, we might as well end talking
Yeah,
about
we sure did. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. It is. Oh my gosh. All right.
it. We get
Anything?
this age by not losing people and animals.
Well, yeah. Don't even. That's what. Yeah. I said came back from dropping my mom off real quick from spending the night Sunday, Monday morning. I took her back to the assisted living, and I'm like, I ain't dying that way. I might be fine for my mom, but let me hit my head and fall off a horse and die. I don't want to be there as I age. I can't imagine my life without horses, and being outside. And I don't have any kids to take care of me. So it's like,
Me neither.
how am I going to go? How's this going to happen? I'll have to set that one up.
I think that's the only reason why I should have maybe replicated myself.
Oh, Lordy.
To say that, but
Well, these are very powerful, truthful, honest discussions that we're all dealing with these realities of life.
We're getting older.
And it's part of, these decisions that we have to make, going back to that same role and responsibility of being a humane, conscious steward. I mean, we don't take it lightly, and it's not meant to be taken lightly. Again, we don't want to beat ourselves up for our whole life, but if more people took that role and responsibility seriously, we would have peace on earth already, right? And that's not a cliche. I mean, that's how the earth is supposed to be. It's abundant. It's harmony and balance and peace. So we're struggling with all of this again because we're still not the majority, right? We're still not the majority, even though there's expanding consciousness on the planet and more people are seeking support in living this way.
Yeah.
And living this
community too. When you look back 100 years ago, like you said, like when I was growing up and we moved back to Maryland, my parents' home state. So we were around my grandmother and her sister, my great aunt and cousins. We all took care of each other. My grandmother lived with my mom and dad and me when I was going to college. And so they took care of her. And my great aunt lived with my cousin as she was aging. And we don't take care of each other anymore. We don't have those big family dynamics. My brothers and I don't live in the same state. And it's like we've gotten so intellectually advanced that we're not us, not our generation, but look at the kids that are glued to their frickin' phones.
We need a watch to tell us how we feel.
Yeah, exactly. I'll never get a watch like that. No offense, guys. No way. But it's like, it's like, where's our community though? We should be taking care of each other. We should be helping to take care of each other. Then it wouldn't be a burden. Then none of this would be a burden. If we were more community centered, it like Lydia, if you and I lived close by, I'd be like, hey, you and John go away for the weekend. I'll take care of your farm. And I know you have people that take, but I'm just saying it just be, you guys know what I'm saying.
Yep.
I know.
Well, there's the quality of that too, right? Where we have more choice to live our own lives, right? Like women can own property. Like that sort of thing, right?
Well, yeah.
we're in that transitional place, and we're building, Caroline, you're building community. We may not all be in the same physical location, but we're supporting each other in a new way.
Yes.
Through inspiring, through providing resources, through education, through the support of the community that you're creating, that where we don't have to be. There is the functional needs of living on a farm. I know all about that. I live on my own farm and need physical help on the farm and with the horses, but there's also a freedom that wasn't available 100 years ago of choice, and so we keep that in perspective. So we want to keep all our lives in perspective, our high spiritual standards, and then the reality of the functional material world, and we just keep doing the best we can and seek out support and guidance from like-minded souls, and those who aren't on the same path. We don't have attachment to them. Mm-hmm. It's my responsibility, as Lydia was saying, it's my responsibility to help my horses in the best way I know how, and that includes their birth into the spirit world. And other people can give me their opinions, and even vets or farriers or whoever, but that horse is my responsibility, and that's my sole contract with that horse.
Yeah, beautifully put.
Has come to me in my life to help me heal, grow, and evolve, and help me have that strength as my role and responsibility as their steward. And so this is the time for us to really step into our power. And again, through the relationship with our horses, we're given that sacred space and opportunity to do so. And we all need help. We all need a leg up, and we all need to feel validated and empowered, right? And
yes.
Who we are and what we're doing. And this is why, what you're creating, Caroline, both on a training, level. I know you don't like to use that word, but in helping us be one with our horses in every way. And in terms of like-minded souls, who are on a similar path, to have that community in a new way.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I've brought quite a few students together. Yeah, it's nice. It is beautiful. It's better than nice. It's beautiful. All right. That was a great way to wrap it up, ladies. Wrap it up, bees. I got to switch gears. All right. Blessings to everybody listening. Thank you, both Lydias. Mwah, mwah.
Thank you.
Thank you. And look forward to next month and our continuing series and conversations.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you, Caroline and Lydia, and everyone joining us. We all need each other to support, who we are.
Yes.
And we're never alone, right? We're never alone. We have the spirit world, we have each other, and we're going to keep going. And we're not going to dumb down our spirituality.
No. Nope. You woo, juju, the whole 9 yards.
Buy Lydia's book if you want to get intuitive instead of owning an iWatch. It might be cheaper to buy the book than an iWatch.
The choices we make every day matter, right? The choices we make every day matter.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
All right. Love you guys. Bye.
Bye-bye.